bell ringer. Basically, in your notes, you're going to click on the bell ringer text box and give an example of the different ways you think a company can maximize their profits and save money. This will be 3 examples. But we all good on bell ringer responses. All right, today we're going to talk about cost, revenue, cost maximization. First, we're going to cover cost. So fixed costs are the costs that an organization incurs even if there is little to no activity. So in your notes, you'll see how Mr. Dahl does, that text box, and just put in the definition. So some examples of fixed costs is employee salaries, interest rates, and taxes. The reason why they're an example is because of the definition of cost the organization incurs. There's little no activity, employee salaries, interest rates, taxes do not change. For example, if a company adds, no matter how many employees they add, if they have 1 employee or they have 10 employees, they agree to pay their employees $10 an hour. That price does not change. They pay every employee the same amount per hour. Another example would be interest rates on credit cards. I have a couple credit cards. Each credit card I have to pay interest rate on. And it depends on the company, it depends on the bank, but if I get 3 different credit cards with Wells Fargo, I'm going to have to pay the exact same interest rate for all 3. And then taxes, basically state taxes, everybody pays taxes. In the majority, everybody pays the same percentage. Fixed costs do not change whether demand is low or high. And overhead is just another name for total fixed cost. Things that I have all folded. It's just for you can take notes on. You don't have to, but it's something that's important to support in description. All right. Variable cost is the cost that changes when the business's rate, operation, or output changes. Go back to fixed real quick. See, fixed does not change. Remember, it stays the same. Well, also, variable, it does change. And that's going to be in a exercise activity we have, where you're going to have to know the difference between variable and fixed, and which one changes, which one does not. So some examples of variable costs would be labor and raw materials. Basic variable changes with the price of, for example, McDonald's. They want to buy packed hamburger buns. The price of those hamburger buns can change. The amount they need can change, so they will end up having to pay more. Their variable costs will always change with the business's output changes. An example I put was in COVID shutdowns caused McDonald's to lose half their sales. Then their need of employees will decrease, and McDonald's employees may experience their hours being cut. So that's going with the example that I just provided with the hamburgers and the product. If McDonald's loses half the business, then they can't afford to work the same amount of employees for the same amount of time, or they will lose money. And just a continuation is, let's say there's a sporting event in Charlotte, North Carolina, and fans are wanting to book a hotel for the night. Well, then the hotel employees may experience a rise in their hours so that they can accommodate the demand for rooms. And then another large Another point here is the largest cost for businesses is the cost of labor. All right, so we're going to do total cost, and I'm going to put this bottom part on the board. I'll work out the math with you. The total cost is the sum of fixed and variable costs. And so you must combine the fixed and variable costs together to get your total cost. All right. So I'm going to write some numbers down on the board to work it out to find total cost. All right. So an example I gave was, let's say TikTok sold a shirt of Charlie D'Amelio for $20. $20 for the shirt is the fixed cost. That's how much it costs for that's how much they sell the t-shirt for. But they must pay their employees an extra $10 per hour overtime. They work due to the high demand of the shirt. And there are 10 employees making the shirts, and they work 3 hours of overtime plus a regular shift at $7.50 an hour. Basically, they're working a regular shift 5 hours at $7.50 an hour. But due to high demand, they have to work 3 extra hours of overtime, and that change per hour is what we're going to accommodate for. We're going to calculate it. So I have math. We're going to do, let's see, 750 times 5 hours. Then we're going to do 37.5 dollars. Sorry for the sloppiness. Okay, so we have $7.50 an hour. We're going to multiply that by the amount of hours the employees are working, and we get $37.5. And then we're going to take this, and we're going to times it by the amount of employees we have. That's going to give us $375. So that's just for our regular hour, our regular work shift. They'll do the exact same thing, $10 an hour for overtime times 3 hours. Times 3 hours of overtime $3. And then we're going to do that here times 10. That's $300. So now we're coming over here. We're just going to combine these two totals. 375 plus 300 equals $675. But we're not done because we have one more step. The step is we have to get our fixed cost. We have to include our fixed cost. So it's $20 plus 20 equals $695 would be TikTok's total cost of the shirt, making the shirt, paying their employees for overtime and a regular shift to create the shirt. Right. Let's move on to marginal cost. So marginal cost is the extra cost incurred when producing one more unit of output. We'll write the formula on the board. we have change in cost divided by change in quantity. You need to write this definition or this formula down because there is a part in your notes. Also, one of your questions in the exit slip will be giving a formula for either marginal cost or marginal revenue. So revenue is our average revenue is the average price that every unit output sells for. And the average revenue, to make sure you make a point of this, does not change whether 5, 50, 500 units are sold. So average revenue is just the base price that something sells for. An example of average revenue would be same thing with McDonald's. Use McDonald's. What it costs McDonald's to create a hamburger, their average revenue is going to be what they sell, what the price they put on that specific hamburger. You go to McDonald's, you can get dollar menu. You get $3 off dollar menu for around what? $3 change, maybe $4. That would be the average revenue of each product, would be the price that McDonald's has on the menu. Good on there. All right, so your total net revenue is going to be all the revenue a business receives. And so basically the formula for this one is multiply the number of units sold by the average revenue. Give an example on the board. So we'll keep going with McDonald's. I have Burger King on here. We'll do another one with McDonald's. And we'll say McDonald's sells 50 hamburgers. Say 50 hamburgers one day, and they sell it at fixed price for revenue of say $3. Then our total revenue for McDonald's for that day of selling hamburgers would be $150. Remember, total is basically taking the amount. If you ever see a word problem, it's the amount of things they sold times the price they're selling it for. And then the example, the other example I'll play is if Burger King sells 50 hamburgers, it's the exact same thing. $3, $150 revenue. All right, marginal revenue is the extra revenue a business receives from the production and sale of one additional unit of output. And the formula, if you cannot, y'all struggling in the back seat. Okay, if you want me to start reading out the definition. So it's the extra revenue a business receives from the production and sale of one additional unit of output. Y'all hear me okay back there? Okay. And then our formula for marginal revenue is going to be change in total revenue divided by change in total output. So I'll put that on the board for you all in the back. You can put either total output or marginal product, it doesn't matter which one. Put both. Okay, so it's going to be change in total revenue. change in revenue divided by change in conflict. Change in total conflict. You guys see that better? Easier. All right. So, our few questions so far. Let's give our ups or down. Or up, thumbs up meaning yes, thumbs down meaning no. I just want to see if y'all are understanding what we're going over. So, first question is: can fixed costs change based on demand? Okay. See it happen class of thoughts. The ones that have answered, you are correct. It is no, because fixed stays the same. Our marginal cost, the extra cost of producing an extra unit. Go back into marginal cost notes. It's yeses, no, yes. Okay, that's correct. Marginal costs are the extra costs. Remember, with either marginal cost or revenue, whenever you see the extra part, or you see an extra unit, then you know the definition is going to be, that answer is going to be right. Does variable cost change due to demand? The opposite is yes, it does change. Average revenue, can it change based on the demand? That is yes. And total revenue can be found by multiplying the average revenue by the number of units sold. Remember, we did that on the board just a minute ago with the McDonald's hamburgers. You can get a thumbs up, you're correct. All right, let's move on. We're at profit now. All right, so we're at profit maximization. Profit maximization is the level of production where marginal cost is equal to marginal revenue. And the purpose of profit maximization for companies is to increase the amount of profit they gain. Companies are always striving to achieve profit. That's how they make their money, how they stay. A different way that a company can profit is a company could increase their sales. They can advertise on Facebook. They can make more, put out more commercials, get more business for their company. They could reduce their rates of cost materials. So McDonald's could go with another company that is selling the hamburger buns for 20 cents cheaper. And then they would be able to increase their profit by cutting the cost of materials. They can increase the price they sell their products for. An example I used last class is how Apple will come out with one iPhone, and then about 3-4 months later, they'll come out with the second iPhone. And it's the exact same thing. There's very little difference. It does not cost Apple that much, or it doesn't really cost them anything different to make the first iPhone, second iPhone, but they always sell the second one for more expensive. I remember they were having iPhones like $900, now like $1,200 more. That's how Apple making a profit. They're increasing their prices and receiving tax breaks. Companies can receive tax breaks, different loopholes, different ways, and it would save them money quarterly, so that they have more money to go into their pockets. All right, the break-even point is basically, it's kind of like a bailout for companies that are not doing good, the economy's bad. If a company, let's say the economy like right now is shut down, most companies are going in the hole, they're going in the negative, sales, costs, and everything. So those companies are trying to achieve break-even point. If they see that there's no potential of making profit, they're going to try to break even so that they're not going in debt, but in return they also will not make a profit. So it's where a company's cost equals their revenue. An example I put is if a company sells, the company's cost is $300, but they sell $300 in revenue, then that company will achieve break-even point. And the purpose, like I stated before, it helps companies keep from losing money, even though they won't experience any profit at all. You know that break-even or no? For seconds. So, I'm trying to think. What's a local business downtown Greenville? Y'all know. It's a restaurant, something y'all like going to. Anything? Doggy downtown Greenville? Office beer? That. Tropical Grill. Okay. So Tropical Grill, especially in a very busy part of the city, which is downtown, they experience a lot of sales. But during COVID shutdowns, probably now they're getting back on their feet, but during COVID shutdowns, they were losing money. A lot of businesses were closing temporarily. People weren't going out. They didn't want to be public. So, Tropical Grill was trying to break even every month just so they knew they weren't going to make any profit during these few months of shutdowns, but they knew as long as they break even, they're not losing money, and they can open up again when shutdowns relax. All right, so e-commerce. E-commerce is an electronic business that is conducted over the internet. Examples of e-commerce would be Amazon, Walmart.com. They can have stores, buildings as well, but they do a lot of business online. Walmart.com, Amazon, Etsy, anything you think of that, the .com itself, eBay. And so e-commerce saves companies money by eliminating the cost of renting a building, paying utilities on a building, having to pay certain taxes on a building. So if, let's say, Amazon, it's like Walmart, and they have a bunch of stores everywhere. You saw you go down the street, you have Amazon store everywhere. That they would have to pay rent for that building, they'd have to pay building fees. They have employees in there, employees have to take lunch. They're going to be using water, they're going to be using power, they got to use bathroom. Those bills are going to, those electrical bill, power and water are going to rise. And then also, they're going to have to pay property tax, there have to be certain taxes on that building. But e-commerce eliminates all of those costs because it all goes online. Now they're working from home, they're working somewhere where they don't have to pay the same fees and bills that you would if you had a building. And in this, in your notes, at the end of your notes, right at the bottom, you'll see a section for the exit limit, and there's like 1 through 5 numbers. I want you to put your answers in that section. And here are the questions. You can work with a partner by yourself, it doesn't matter, you use your notes. This is just basically for a refresher for you and to show me that you have learned something from this class. You're understanding the basic concepts, you're understanding the full of what you're getting taught. So question 1 is, what is the difference between fixed, variable, and total cost? Question 2 is, and you just write your answers on the dot button. You don't have to put it on, you don't have to recopy the questions. 2 is marginal cost measures the blank incurred when producing one more unit of output. So that's in your definition for that marginal cost measures the blank incurred. 3 is, what is the difference between average and total revenue? 4 is, how do you solve for marginal revenue? So it's going to be that formula, marginal revenue, in your notes. And then 5 is describe. This last section is going to be about a sentence apiece, 1 sentence per profit maximization, 1 sentence for break even, and then 1 sentence for e-commerce. And you're basically just going to explain to me how profit maximization, break even, and e-commerce can help benefit a business. So questions 1, 2, or question 1 be about 1, 2 sentences, just as long as you make the point of the difference between fixed, variable, and total. 2, I'm looking for 1, 2 words in your definition that it's missing. 3, be about 1, 2 sentences. 4 will just be the formula, and then 5 about 3 sentences. Y'all do that, and then wrap up.